Why do we fall in love? What is that sudden, intoxicating, and often irrational force that can pull two strangers together with the power of a tidal wave? We call it chemistry, a spark, or fate. We write poems about it, sing songs about it, and build our lives around it. But from a Jungian perspective, the initial stage of falling in love is one of the most profound and misunderstood psychological events a human can experience. It is a form of temporary but beautiful madness. Carl Jung would argue that when we first fall in love, we are rarely seeing the actual person in front of us. Instead, we are seeing a god or a goddess. We are seeing a projection of a deep, powerful, and unconscious part of our own soul. This isn't just a romantic idea. It is a description of a powerful psychological mechanism. Jung believed that deep within our psyche, we carry an idealized image of our own spiritual counterpart, an inner figure that represents all the qualities our conscious ego has yet to develop. For a man, this is his inner feminine, the anima. For a woman, this is her inner masculine, the animus. When we meet someone in the outer world who has a hook that our unconscious can hang this image upon, the projection happens. We are instantly mesmerized not by them, but by the sudden breathtaking vision of a lost part of our own soul. This is the secret behind love at first sight. It is not a meeting of two people. It is the psyche's sudden, shocking recognition of itself. To understand the mechanics of projection, we must first be properly introduced to these two powerful inner figures, the anima and the animus. Jung described the anima as the unconscious feminine principle within a man's psyche. She is the archetype of relationship, emotion, creativity, intuition, and his connection to nature and the soul. She is not his personal feelings, but the very pattern of relatedness itself. She is his inner soul image, often appearing in his dreams as a mysterious and alluring feminine guide, a muse or a goddess. She holds the key to his emotional depth and his creative potential. Conversely, the animus is the unconscious masculine principle within a woman's psyche. He is the archetype of logic, reason, assertion, structure, and focused consciousness. He represents her ability to think critically, to take decisive action, and to build structures in the world. He is her inner spirit image, often appearing in her dreams as a wise authority figure, a powerful stranger, a group of men, or an intellectual guide. He holds the key to her sense of agency and her ability to manifest her ideas in reality. For most of us, especially in the first half of life, we are largely unconscious of these inner figures. A man might be disconnected from his own emotional and creative anima, living a life that is overly logical and dry. A woman might be disconnected from her assertive and logical animus, feeling passive or unable to articulate her thoughts clearly. Because these powerful energies are a part of us but are unconscious, they do not simply lie dormant. They seek expression. And the primary way they find expression is by being projected, thrown like a magical cloak onto a suitable person in the outer world. This brings us to the magical and often dangerous moment of projection. How does it work? Imagine you are walking through the world carrying this unconscious image of your anima or animus within you. You are not aware of it, but it is there, a latent potential, a longing for wholeness. Then you meet someone. This person, through some small quality, the way they laugh, the intensity in their eyes, a shared interest, a gesture, has a hook that perfectly matches your unconscious soul image. In that instant, the mechanism is triggered. Your psyche, in a powerful, unconscious, and instantaneous act, takes the entire godlike image of your anima or animus and projects it onto this ordinary human being. Suddenly, they are no longer just a person. They are transfigured. They seem to glow from within. They are perfect, wise, beautiful, and seem to hold the key to your very existence. You feel an overwhelming sense of recognition, as if you have known them your entire life. This is the intoxicating feeling of falling in love. You are overcome with emotion, desire, and a sense of destiny, but Jung would caution us. What you are feeling is not yet love for the actual person. You have not even seen the actual person yet. You are in love with a lost part of your own soul, which you have now miraculously found walking around in the world. This is why the experience is so powerful. It is the joy of psychic reunification. The problem, of course, is that the person you have projected upon is not a god or a goddess. They are a complex, flawed, ordinary human being just like you. And no one can carry the weight of another person's projected soul forever. This period of mutual projection is what we call the honeymoon phase. It is a state of blissful illusion, a temporary entry into a mythical realm. For a time, the world is transformed. The person you have fallen for can do no wrong. Their flaws are either invisible or they are reinterpreted as charming quirks. Their every word seems profound, their every touch is electric. You feel deeply and truly seen in a way you never have before. But what is happening is that you are seeing your own soul's potential reflected back at you. When your partner seems to understand you perfectly, it is often because your anima or animus, the inner figure who knows you completely, is being projected onto them. The connection feels effortless and magical because the real difficult work of relating to a separate, different human being has not yet begun. You are essentially in a relationship with yourself, and your partner is the beautiful screen for this inner movie. This stage is a necessary and beautiful part of the human experience. It is a gift from the psyche, a taste of the wholeness and union that is possible. It provides the psychic glue, the powerful emotional bond that is often needed to carry a couple through the difficult challenges that will inevitably come later. It is a glimpse of the divine, a brief period where we are allowed to live in the Garden of Eden, where two people feel like they have become one perfect, harmonious being. But the key word is temporary. The projection is like a powerful spell, and no spell lasts forever. Sooner or later, the magic begins to fade. The real world with all its imperfections begins to creep in, and the divine illusion is destined to shatter. No human being can permanently carry the projection of a god. Sooner or later, reality intervenes. This is the fall from grace, the inevitable and painful stage of disillusionment. The spell breaks, the projection fades, and for the first time, you begin to see the actual person you are with in all their glorious and frustrating humanity. You discover that the all-knowing man you fell in love with can also be stubborn and forgetful. You realize that the nurturing, ethereal goddess you adored can also be moody and insecure. Their flaws, which were once invisible or charming, now become glaringly obvious and irritating. The things that once drew you to them might now be the very things that drive you crazy. The effortless psychic connection disappears, replaced by misunderstandings and miscommunications. You feel a sense of betrayal. "You're not the person I thought you were," is the common painful refrain of this stage. You feel as though that they have tricked you, that they have changed. But in reality, they have not changed at all. They have simply stopped being able to carry the impossible weight of your projection. The god or goddess has died, and in their place is a mere mortal. For most relationships, this is the end. The disappointment is too great, the illusion was too beautiful, and the reality seems too mundane in comparison. The couple breaks up, each going their separate way, often to unconsciously seek another person onto whom they can project their soul image, starting the cycle all over again. But for Jung, this moment of crisis is not the end of love. It is the potential beginning of true conscious love. The work cannot start until the illusion has been shattered. When the divine projection collapses, the relationship arrives at a critical crossroads. There are two paths forward. The first, and by far the more common path, is the blame game. You insist that your partner is the one who has changed. You become angry and resentful that they are no longer living up to the perfect image you had of them. You might try to coerce them, to change them, to force them back into the box of your projection. "Why aren't you as romantic as you used to be? Why aren't you as strong and decisive as when we first met?" This path is an endless cycle of disappointment, conflict, and resentment. It is the ego's attempt to avoid the painful truth by making the problem about the other person. This path almost always leads to the end of the relationship. But there is another path. It is a much more difficult, but infinitely more rewarding one. This is the path of inner work. Instead of asking, "Why did you change?" the courageous individual asks a different set of questions. They turn the magnifying glass away from their partner and onto themselves. They ask, "What was I projecting onto this person? What part of my own soul, my own anima or animus, was I asking them to carry for me? What is this disappointment revealing about my own unmet needs and undeveloped potential?" This is a revolutionary shift in perspective. You stop being a victim of your partner's perceived failings and become a conscious participant in your own psychological growth. The disappointment is no longer seen as a betrayal, but as a priceless opportunity. It is a signpost from the psyche pointing you directly to the part of yourself that you now need to develop consciously. The difficult but necessary task at this stage is to withdraw the projection. This is the conscious act of taking back your soul image from your partner. It is about realizing that the god or goddess you fell in love with was in fact a part of you. And now it is your job to develop that part of you consciously within yourself, rather than demanding that your partner live it for you. What does this look like in practice for a man withdrawing the anima projection? Means he must take responsibility for his own feeling, life, his own creativity, and his own need for connection. Instead of relying on his partner to be the sole source of emotional depth in his life, he must cultivate it himself. He might do this by taking up a creative hobby, by learning to express his feelings directly, or by developing his intuition. For a woman, withdrawing the animus projection means she must take responsibility for her own thinking, her own sense of direction, and her own power. Instead of relying on her partner to be the sole voice of logic or authority, she must develop her own. She might do this by pursuing her education, taking on a leadership role, or learning to assert her opinions with clarity and confidence. This is not easy work. It is the work of becoming a whole person. As you begin to integrate these disowned parts of yourself, a miracle happens. You stop needing your partner to be a god. You can finally let them off the pedestal and see them for who they truly are, a fellow flawed human being on their own journey of growth. The neurotic dependent need is replaced by a conscious, freely chosen desire. You no longer love them because they complete you, but because you are two separate, whole individuals who are choosing to share a path together. When the projections have been withdrawn, the relationship can be transformed. It ceases to be a fantasy of perfect union and becomes something far more real, more challenging, and more sacred. It becomes an alchemical vessel. As we've explored, the alchemical vessel is a container strong enough to hold the immense heat and tension of opposing forces, allowing them to transform. A conscious relationship is the ultimate alchemical vessel for personal growth. The conflicts, the disagreements, the moments when your partner triggers you, these are no longer seen as problems to be avoided. They are seen as the fire of the alchemical work. Your partner, by being who they are, will inevitably activate your deepest complexes and push up against your unacknowledged shadow. Your irritation at their messiness might be a confrontation with your own repressed chaos. Your frustration at their emotional distance might be a call to develop your own inner feeling life. In this way, your partner becomes your greatest teacher, your most honest mirror. They show you, often unintentionally, exactly where your own inner work lies. The relationship becomes a safe space to practice consciousness. Can I feel my anger without blaming my partner? Can I express my needs without being demanding? Can I see my partner's flaws with compassion, knowing that they too are struggling with their own inner upward world? The goal of the relationship shifts. It is no longer just about personal happiness. It becomes a shared journey, a sacred container in which two people commit to helping each other become more whole. The relationship itself becomes a third thing, a joint project, a great work of transforming the lead of your individual neuroses into the gold of a conscious, loving partnership. Jungian thinkers have often described the development of a conscious relationship as a journey through four distinct stages. Recognizing these stages can help us understand where we are and what the work is at each point in our partnerships. The first stage is purely instinctual and biological. It is driven by the raw, unconscious forces of nature, physical attraction, hormonal drives, and the collective need to procreate. It is the powerful pre-personal force that ensures the continuation of the species. The second stage is the one we have explored in detail, the romantic projective stage. This is the stage of falling in love. It is driven by the projection of the anima and animus. While still largely unconscious, it moves beyond pure biology and into the realm of personal psychology and archetypal longing. Most popular stories and movies about love end here at the happily ever after of the perfect projection. The third stage is the most difficult. It is the stage of conscious struggle and partnership. This begins when the projections fade. It is the stage of power struggles, of conflict, of disillusionment. It is where the real work of withdrawing projections, taking responsibility for one's own psychology, and learning to see the other person as a separate individual occurs. This is the stage where most relationships fail. but it is also the stage where true conscious love is forged. The fourth stage is the culmination of this work. It is the stage of transformative conscious love. This is a relationship between two individuals who have both committed to their own journey of individuation. They are no longer looking to their partner to complete them or to carry their soul image. Instead, they act as companions and supportive witnesses to each other's individual journey toward the self. The relationship becomes a sacred space that supports the wholeness of both individuals. It is a rare and precious achievement, the true goal of the alchemical partnership. We arrive at last at a new vision of love, a vision that moves beyond the fleeting ecstasy of romantic projection into the deep, resilient, and life-affirming reality of a conscious partnership. What is the ultimate goal of a Jungian relationship? It is not to find your other half. You are not a half, you are a whole, and the journey is to realize that wholeness within yourself. The goal is not to merge with another person and lose yourself in a blissful union. It is to become a fully individuated person who can stand strong on your own and who chooses to share a path with another equally individuated person. A conscious partnership is a relationship between two wholes, not two halves. The foundation of this partnership is the commitment of both individuals to their own inner work. Each person takes responsibility for their own, shadow their own projections, their own psychological growth. The relationship is not an escape from this work. It is the sacred space in which this work is honored and supported. In this kind of partnership, love is not a feeling that comes and goes with the winds of projection. It is a conscious act. It is the act of seeing your partner clearly in all their light and all their shadow and choosing to love them anyway. It is the act of supporting their unique journey towards wholeness, even when it takes them in directions that are different from your own. It is the act of using your conflicts not as weapons, but as tools for mutual growth. This is perhaps one of the most difficult and most rewarding undertakings in a human life. It is the alchemical fire at its most intense. But the result is the creation of something truly precious, a love that is not a fantasy but a reality, a connection that is not based on need but on freedom, a partnership that does not just make you happy but helps you to become who you truly are.